empowers CSOs to acquire the necessary skills and knowledge to fulfill their organizational missions.
Ford is a social justice organization, and so we see everything from a social justice lens. Our ultimate goal and aim is to build a just democratic society. So what it is that we're looking for are organizations that are passionate about what it is that they are doing.
I just want to also talk about three things. So the first element that's required to be able to build high-performing, resilient organizations is capacity. The second most important criteria, it's about purpose. The third factor is to do with the context in which you operate.
The summit provided a platform for sharing learnings on innovative strategies and how global technology has transformed strategic thinking for organizational resilience and performance.
Technology is not an end in itself, but technology helps to enable processes. And so you need to think about your organization and all the processes that you do within the organization and ask, how can technology help you to do your work faster?
Standing here, I can count up to between 18 and 20 organizations that we have built, supported by building their websites and other technological tools that we have introduced to them to improve their processes. That is, as is a matter of one of our mandates.
We're going to be looking at the opportunities that the external environment can bring, to a leader. And so the idea is, in an event of a pandemic, how are leaders ready to be resilient? How are they ready to utilize technology to transform their organization?
When you look at the cost of living crisis, the energy cost, and also the cost of running a non-profit as it were, like I did say in my presentation, we now need to also start looking at productivity on the part of staff, including looking at the possibilities of transiting whether to a hybrid or to a full remote work environment.
Specifically, the summit deepened stakeholders' knowledge pillars of organizational resilience through evidence-based innovations, promoted strategic thinking on digital transformation and strong control mechanisms, and shared best practices from CSOs and BMOs through abstract presentations, panel discussions, and networking.
So one of the key things of this conference is that organizations should start to position themselves. And how do they do that? By developing strategic plans. And of course, developing strategic plans means looking into the future and bringing that future to the now.
As a grant manager, I don't subscribe to donors developing policies for CSOs. Organizations don't know what is contained in their policies when you develop it for them. Most times it doesn't reflect their status.
For any organization to survive, you break down walls. No silos. No silo. In fact, I have a disease that I have called silocytic neurotic syndrome. It's a syndrome that people have when they want to work alone and they don't want to collaborate with others. Same thing with organizations that don't want to collaborate with other organizations. They can't stand it. They can't stand.
Some key outcomes from the summit include engaging in flexible programming to achieve an optimal work-life balance, moving away from the donor-focused approach to resource diversification, emphasizing the deployment of technology as a standard practice rather than an exception, understanding the operational environment, embracing change, and capitalizing on opportunities to foster organizational resilience and achieve high performance, establishing a broader ecosystem to form alliances to better understand the importance of inclusivity and safeguarding.
We're glad to be a part of the Organizational Development Summit. I must commend the organizers of the summit, USAID Palladium, for the vision behind it, and I'm glad this is the second year, and we're looking forward to being a part of the third and the fourth and the fifth year, where we're sure there will be so many other exciting outcomes of the summit.
If we continue on this trajectory, is that we'll have competent, well-run NGOs in Nigeria that can able to access funding directly from USAID, FCDO, and even other donor agencies across the world. while at the same time diversifying their funds and being able to generate local resources, and even with the capacity to ensure that local philanthropy is improved in Nigeria.
And for us, the vision is not necessarily building organizations or supporting them to access just USAID funds, but that they are organizations that can access funding from other organizations. So, and that's the point we're looking at, even in terms of the organizational development that is ongoing and some other support that we're giving.
We wanted a sustainability platform to move this legacy product of scale. Now we have a registered organizational development network hub, fully registered with board of directors who are going to, from next year, continue these innovative organizational development summits. And so we are hopeful that this summit is going to move on to a celebration of history that will outlive the scale project. And we also want to tell you that most donors, by reason of last year, had connection and collaboration with some of our partners. And the story we are hearing is that some have gained grants, some have moved on to implement grants. And so this is actually a hub of networking, collaborating, associating with one another, and teamwork, which of course is the essence of this kind of forum.
I'm really excited how far that we've gone. For this year, we have who we call co-sponsors, like Ford Foundation and Sterling Wonder Foundation, that have joined us to co-sponsor this session. And they have brought their own expertise, they have brought their own thinking to this OD Summit. And I think it's really made a difference. And we're looking forward to next year's having more people interested in supporting the OD Summit.
This has been a wonderful, good opportunity to be able to have good knowledge offerings around organizational development and the capacity to be able to transfer this knowledge to our staff, to our staff members, to be able to prepare them. And then we've been exposed to some good, amazing tools, technological tools that would help us even work remotely.
I'm hugely proud of what the Scale team have done, and I think the topic for this year is so poignant and it's so relevant, and we're talking about resilience and how we also use technology. I think resilience for civil society organizations is so important. For sustainability, we need to think differently beyond donor life cycle going forward. So I'm hugely proud of the work that the Scale team has done.
The second National Organizational Development Summit facilitated valuable discussions and knowledge sharing, empowering participants to enhance their organizational resilience and performance in an ever-evolving landscape. The Strengthening Civic Advocacy and Local Engagement Scale Project hosted its second National Organizational Development Summit with the theme Enhancing Innovation and Technology for Organizational Resilience and Performance. This hybrid summit focused on two main goals: innovation and technology, drawing over 2,100 participants globally, including donors, foundations, private sector organizations, civil society organizations, business membership organizations, organizational development experts, and emerging organizations.
Palladium is a global management consulting company. We're into strategy development and project management. In Nigeria, we really deploy our project management skills across various sectors. So across the health, across the governance, social development, and of course health sector. The SCALE program, for example, falls into the kind of work we do in the governance space, and specifically supporting that demand-side governance.
The goal of SCALE is to build the financial, managerial, and advocacy capacity of civil society organizations and business membership organizations so that they contribute to the creation of a transparent, accountable, peaceful and democratic Nigeria.
So the OD Summit is one of our creative ways of trying to reach as many civil society organizations as possible. It's also ways that we're bringing different experts across the board, across different areas, that young organizations, people that are really making strides in this area, bringing them together to share with the larger CSO and civil society in general.
One of our priorities is to reduce poverty in all its forms. And we do this by working with the public sector, private sector, and the non-profit sector towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals.
We are here for the second level summit on organizational development that started last year. Last year we had a section on sustainability, and that section was able to give rise to a lot of impact level that right now we are celebrating. One of them is that we inaugurated and graduated the first crop of organizational development experts, which we term organizational development marketplace. Then we were looking for opportunity for institutionalization of that marketplace. And we are celebrating that institutionalization now because we were able to link up with an institution who has signed an MOU with us to run postgraduate degree programs, National State University, and that is commencing soon.
The USAID Mission Director, Dr. Ann Patterson, Ford Foundation West Africa Regional Director, Dr. Chichi Anagolo Okoye, and the FCDO Country Director, Dr. Chris Pycroft, participated and contributed to value add to the Organizational Development Summit.
Most civil society organizations do not have strong organizational structure. In Nigeria, USAID's Strengthening Civic Advocacy and Local Engagement activity, known as SCALE, empowers CSOs to acquire the necessary skills and knowledge to fulfill their organizational missions.
Ford is a social justice organization, and so we see everything from a social justice lens. Our ultimate goal and aim is to build a just democratic society. So what it is that we're looking for are organizations that are passionate about what it is that they are doing.
I just want to also talk about three things. So the first element that's required to be able to build high-performing, resilient organizations is capacity. The second most important criteria, it's about purpose. The third factor is to do with the context in which you operate.
The summit provided a platform for sharing learnings on innovative strategies and how global technology has transformed strategic thinking for organizational resilience and performance.
Technology is not an end in itself, but technology helps to enable processes. And so you need to think about your organization and all the processes that you do within the organization and ask, how can technology help you to do your work faster?
Standing here, I can count up to between 18 and 20 organizations that we have built, supported by building their websites and other technological tools that we have introduced to them to improve their processes. That is, is a matter of one of our mandates.
We're going to be looking at the opportunities that the external environment can bring, to a leader. And so the idea is, in an event of a pandemic, how are leaders ready to be resilient? How are they ready to utilize technology to transform their organization?
When you look at the cost of living crisis, the energy cost, and also the cost of running a non-profit as it were, like I did say in my presentation, we now need to also start looking at productivity on the part of staff, including looking at the possibilities of transiting whether to a hybrid or to a full remote work environment.
Specifically, the summit deepened stakeholders' knowledge pillars of organizational resilience through evidence-based innovations, promoted strategic thinking on digital transformation and strong control mechanisms, and shared best practices from CSOs and BMOs through abstract presentations, panel discussions, and networking.
So one of the key things of this conference is that organizations should start to position themselves. And how do they do that? By developing strategic plans. And of course, developing strategic plans means looking into the future and bringing that future to the now.
As a grant manager, I don't subscribe to donors developing policies for CSOs. Organizations don't know what is contained in their policies when you develop it for them. Most times it doesn't reflect their status.
For any organization to survive, you break down walls. no silos, no silo. In fact, I have a disease that I have called silocytic neurotic syndrome. You know, it's a syndrome that people have when they want to work alone and they don't want to collaborate with others. Same thing with organizations that don't want to collaborate with other organizations. They can't stand it. They can't stand.
Some key outcomes from the summit include engaging in flexible programming to achieve an optimal work-life balance, moving away from the donor-focused approach to resource diversification, emphasizing the deployment of technology as a standard practice rather than an exception, understanding the operational environment, embracing change, and capitalizing on opportunities to foster organizational resilience and achieve high performance, establishing a broader ecosystem to form alliances to better understand the importance of inclusivity and safeguarding.
We are glad to be a part of the Organizational Development Summit. I must commend the organizers of the summit, USAID Palladium, for the vision behind it, and I'm glad this is the second year, and we're looking forward to being a part of the third and the fourth and the fifth year, where we're sure there will be so many other exciting outcomes of the summit.
If we continue on this trajectory, is that we will have competent, well-run NGOs in Nigeria that can able to access funding directly from USAID, FCDO, and even other donor agencies across the world, while at the same time diversifying their funds and being able to generate local resources, and even with the capacity to ensure that local philanthropy is improved in Nigeria.
And for us, the vision is not necessarily building organizations or supporting them to access just USAID funds, but that they are organizations that can access funding from other organizations. So, and that's the point we're looking at, even in terms of the organizational development that is ongoing and some other support that we're giving.
We wanted a sustainability platform to move this legacy product of scale. Now we have a registered organizational development network hub, fully registered with board of directors who are going to, from next year, continue these innovative organizational development summits. And so we are hopeful that this summit is going to move on to a celebration of history that will outlive the scale project. And we also want to tell you that most donors, by reason of last year, had connection and collaboration with some of our partners. And the story we are hearing is that some have gained grants, some have moved on to implement grants. And so this is actually a hub of networking, collaborating, associating with one another, and teamwork, which of course is the essence of this kind of forum.
I'm really excited how far that we've gone. For this year, we have who we call co-sponsors, like Ford Foundation and Sterling Wonder Foundation, that have joined us to co-sponsor this session. And they have brought their own expertise, they have brought their own thinking to this OD Summit. And I think it's really made a difference. And we're looking forward to next year's having more people interested in supporting the OD Summit.
This has been a wonderful, good opportunity to be able to have good knowledge offerings around organizational development and the capacity to be able to transfer this knowledge to our staff, so our staff members, to be able to prepare them. And then we've been exposed to some good, amazing tools, technological tools that would help us even work remotely.
I'm hugely proud of what the Scale team have done, and I think the topic for this year is so poignant and it's so relevant, and we're talking about resilience and how we also use technology. I think resilience for civil society organizations is so important. For sustainability, we need to think differently beyond donor life cycle going forward. So I'm hugely proud of the work that the Scale team has done.
The second National Organizational Development Summit facilitated valuable discussions and knowledge sharing, empowering participants to enhance their organizational resilience and performance in an ever-evolving landscape. The Strengthening Civic Advocacy and Local Engagement Scale Project hosted its second National Organizational Development Summit with the theme Enhancing Innovation and Technology for Organizational Resilience and Performance. This hybrid summit focused on two main goals: innovation and technology, drawing over 2,100 participants globally, including donors, foundations, private sector organizations, civil society organizations, business membership organizations, organizational development experts, and emerging organizations.
Palladium is a global management consulting company. We're into strategy development and project management. In Nigeria, we really deploy our project management skills across various sectors. So across the health, across the governance, social development, and of course health sector. The SCALE program, for example, falls into the kind of work we do in the governance space, and specifically supporting that demand-side governance.
The goal of SCALE is to build the financial, managerial, and advocacy capacity of civil society organizations and business membership organizations so that they contribute to the creation of a transparent, accountable,
Organizational Development Summit. I'm particularly excited about this panel because I think the keynote speaker laid a very good background for where we are. But this panel essentially wants to test the preparedness of local civil society organizations to take up the mantle of their agility and also the resolve of donor organizations, their commitment to localization. So those and many more are part of what we'll be exploring in this panel. I hope at some point we can open up the conversation, take a few questions from our distinguished delegates and also those virtual participants and see how we can respond to them. So thank you. So on that note, I'd like for us to just go straight into the conversation. We'll be taking the first question and I would like to hear from our local CSO representatives. First of all, Mr. Gabriel, I want to start with you. How prepared? What actions are you taking to pitch sustainability within your organization? I know that the Mogadia Center does a lot of work around health, particularly in the Northeast and other regions in the North. But what's your preparedness? When we talk about sustainability and your preparedness to take the mantle of implementation, when we talk about localization, what actions are you taking at your end? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. Yes, as a local CSO operating in the Northeast region of the country and working largely in the health sector, we have, through the support from SCARE, built our capacity. Our capacity has come to a stage that we are able to do incisive engagements that contribute to healthcare develop outcomes in the healthcare sector. And with that, we are we easily try to, because of the training, easily try to adapt to the new innovations like technology. And we embrace it, we have embraced it over time. That too is through the capacity that will go from SCARE through opportunities like this. We'll have been able to really even go into partnerships with some multinational organizations in the tech sector And that is paying off as far as we are concerned, because one of it is we're now into partnership with Microsoft, and that is doing a lot for our organization. And apart from that, we also look at other issues because of our private sector engagement that we have been exposed to by the scale project that has been going on. We also try to engage private sector in a different way, not really by always putting up proposals to have money, but by going into partnership to see how we can come together and do a certain thing. For instance, when we approach Zenith Bank, that we want to do an intervention in a female school, then provide us with pads, and then let's have a resource person that will talk to these girls about their systems and about themselves. And they were glad to do that, provided us with huge number of pads, and we did the intervention without any money coming in. And so we actually are taking these things very, very serious, because we know that with this approach and with the right approach, and with we have to embrace technology alongside, because it is not easy to always do things without with physical meetings, because huge funds are involved. But with the advent of technology and how we embrace it based on the coaching that we got from the SCARE team, we are really taking things, and we are seeing impact of our intervention so far in the states that we're intervening. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, for laying the perspective on what you're doing at the Media Center, including the capacity development support that you've received from Scale and as well as other implementing partners, and your efforts to reach out to private sector organizations. I think that has contributed immensely to some of the results you've recorded. Yeah, I would like to go on to Prof. Prof, thank you very much for joining the panel. Prof, you were former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, and you also run your private organization. Can you share with us what your journey to self-reliance and how impactful have been donor support along this journey?
Okay, thank you to everyone. We believe that for organizations to stay on and be strong and improve involves implementing a range of strategic actions which are aimed to improve financial stability, community engagement, capacity building to strengthen the skills available, and effective governance. Effective governance is very key because you have to exist first. So we are taking that serious and ensuring that we are regulatory compliant. If we're not compliant, then because there are several laws and regulations within the country that govern the existence and legality of an organization. But beyond that, having done that, we know that we need to diversify our funding sources and not just restrict ourselves to the known, the common, the usual funding organizations. We need to go beyond that. We have to be creative, get outside the box, and ensure that we reach out to not just the international organizations that do funding, but develop social enterprises, develop social engagements that generate income. In doing that, of course, if I'm for profit, that becomes easy. If for non-profit, then you need to have a mechanism in place. And what we are doing is to register a for-profit foundation that can work in that direction, can take on enterprises, can be businesses, can partner with the business societies and so on, generate funds which can then be donated to CCPRH to perform and join with what we get. We also explore the possibility of corporate sponsorship. One of the speakers in the morning did mention that actually there are people who have funds, but they probably are not even aware of what the challenges or problems in the society are. Sometimes when you go to them, they are surprised that such things are happening. And I can tell you that a body I'm involved with is a university anyway. reached out to people, and Nigerians who donated a single organization $1 million, $1.3 million to a just cause. Of course, you have to explain and convince them that this is a good venture for them to invest their money. Three, we also need to embed ourselves within the community and be relevant in the community we serve to ensure that not only do we work with and for them, we actually work together. One of the speakers did mention about partnership. If you are well embedded in the society, in the communities where you serve, and they realize that you are working towards their own good, they are going to support you. They are going to lead you. They may not have the resources themselves, but they may have other people who can donate. Again, recently I was involved in actually this just a small thing of my classmate, 50-year graduation. And we needed 42 million to donate to the university. And friends and children of members donated more than members themselves. So these are areas that we are trying to explore, and it seems to be yielding very good results. Capacity building in training and developing our staff and the workforce is very important. And in this vice, networking is important. Networking helps. And we must be eternally grateful to scale, really, because my organization started as a university-based cocooned unit. But after training and getting involved and receiving mentoring and so on, thank God and Kechi were part of the team that did all of this. We developed wings and we flew out of the cocoon and we're in the world trying to link up with other people. Then strategic planning is also very important. You need to develop a long-term vision that will have an auditing system, monitoring and evaluation to say how you are performing, how relevant you are. And in the process, also engage with the government. Because all the work you are doing is helping government anywhere in the society. So you need to work also in partnership with government, both at the local government level and state level. And finally, advocacy and awareness. You need to promote yourself, let people know what you are doing, what people know where they can benefit and work together with you. And the issue of technology has been mentioned, especially in data management, in online training, onto social media, and of course, in this modern age of AI. These are some of the areas we are exploring that we feel will help us to stay strong, to be able to generate additional resources beyond the traditional funding organizations, and to improve our capacity, to develop our capacity to meet with not today's requirement, but tomorrow's requirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. All right, thank you so much, Prof. I would like to direct this particular question to the representative of the Rotary Club. You are the person. All right. Most of us, somebody like me, I know I'm old, but as young as I was then, I used to hear about Rotary Club. Yeah. All right. I used to hear about Rotary Club, and Rotary has remained relevant, vibrant, sustainable till date. We would like the CSOs in this room and those with us online to learn that uniqueness that Rotary Club has that has made you sustainable over the years.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm representing my district governor, Alhaji Ahmed Sagab. He would have been here, but his flight was rescheduled, and he asked me to be here to represent him. Good afternoon once again. Yes, like you did say, you've been hearing about the Rotary Club. We call it Rotary International. It's a humanitarian organization. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Like I did say, since the formation of Rotary International as a humanitarian organization, that is 1904, 1905 to be precise, it has been a humanitarian organization that focused on giving the communities what they need. I'll go straight to Rotary Foundation. Rotary Foundation came about in 1917 during one of our conventions. The then Rotary International president, Art C. Klum, came up with a proposal that it will be needful to have a kind of endowment fund where people can contribute, not just Rotarians, well-wishers, friends, family members, and the rest of them. And the amount was only $26.56, 1917. And that came up, the contribution were coming from different parts of the world among Rotarians and friends in form of donations. And it sprang up to be the Rotary Foundation we are talking about today. For the foundation, we Rotarians do our donations. We do our contributions. We engage friends. We engage if corporate bodies, like you said, I believe maybe after this, we'll be having something from there. That is to boost the foundation. And what do we do with all this money contributed? The monies are given to clubs, Rotary clubs, to execute service projects. The foundation is well structured. You have trustee members that are there to make sure that every fund that goes in there is well spelled out and well accounted for. And how do we get these funds together? Like I did say, contribution from Rotarians and friends. In Nigeria, I can name a few of those that have contributed to the foundations, even if they are not practicing Rotarians. I'll be forced to mention Sir Emeka Ofo, that has given the foundation over $250,000. Talk about former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Talk about Theophilus Danjuma, General Theophilus Danjuma. He has done same. Even among Rotarians, recently we had a Rotarian, a past district governor, Hassan, Joshua Hassan. He gave $250,000 into the foundation. And the unique thing about the foundation, I'm just talking of thousands and thousands. Even $1 is accounted for. The beautiful thing again, I would say, the moment you pay in $1, you are being recognized. You are being motivated to pay more. And the way it is being structured, apart from $26.56 you pay, we have something we call every Rotarian every year. That is, as a Rotarian, you pay in $100 for the year, and you can split it. It goes right into the foundation for service projects. That is why it is easy for us to implement most of the things we are into. For instance, the Polio Plus. We all know that polio devastation is something we cannot live as human beings to see it happening. Nigeria has been certified as polio-free because of Rotary. Although we have partners, we have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that have been helping Rotary. And why did they come into this? Because of the sustenance of the foundation and the transparency. If I pay $1 into the foundation, Bill Gates doubles it by 2, and it has been growing. We have gone so far as, like I said, Nigeria has been certified polio-free, but it's not as if we have passed off, because every time we have children coming up, because of the devastating nature of polio, we have made it that every child should be taken to the hospital free of charge and have all the polio vaccines. It's all because of the foundation. So a lot of money is being put in place to make sure that we don't lack any of this. We have peace schools all over the world. Rotary is a wonderful organization that is well spread out. We have over 400,000 clubs in the world. We have 529 districts, and we have 34 zones. Nigeria is within zone 22, and presently we have 6 districts in Nigeria. So with these structures, we are able to meet up. And instead of getting fatigued with money, looking for money here and there, through the foundation, we do apply for global grant. With the global grant, we get the money to execute projects for humanity. So it has been a good source of investment, a good source for sustainability of what we are doing or what we want to do. And we plead to all other organizations, even countries, to take into what Rotary is doing so that you have a way to grow and expand. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can we appreciate the speakers? So we've heard from the CSO representatives on the panel, and I think what they have shared resonates strongly with what the keynote speaker talked about. I think one key thing he said was that he doesn't think that resources are dwindling. He just said that there's more demand and more competition. So there's need for organizations to be agile in terms of positioning themselves to create more impact. If you look at the theme of this conference, it's around innovation, it's around resilience and sustainability. So we are grateful for the lessons that you've shared from Rotary perspective, that Prof have shared, that Gabriel have shared from Megodia. So I like to now hear from some of the implementing partners on the panel and donor agencies. Dr. Kole Shotima, I'd like to begin with you. From your perspective, from donors' perspective, what do local CSOs need to be doing differently?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And 2 comments first. OTIP introduced his two successors, Husseini and Andrew, and he said that they are worthy successors, which is true. But I thought that he should have recognized me first. Being his teacher, that is important. Secondly, being on the board of Action Aid to recruit all these people. I thought we board members should be recognized first before him as well. Thank you very much for recognizing me, those who clap for me as well. But I also want to recognize Professor Ojengbede because he has saved so many lives, especially the lives of women in this country. I recall, I don't know whether it was 2003 or so, we met in Ibadan, and he came and said that their magnesium sulfate compounding machine had broken down. And they used to compound magnesium sulfate, as those of you who know maternal mortality, you know that eclampsia is one of the major causes of maternal deaths in our country. I believe it's about 18 or 20%. And at that time, we never had magnesium sulfate imported into the country. So what they used to do in Ibadan was to compound it in Ibadan and distribute it actually throughout the country at that time. And the machine had broken down at that time. So he came to us and said that he needed support so that we could support him in that direction. Of course, being who we are, very conscious of legal challenges, we said, well, Prof, we can support you to fix the machine. But if anybody dies from the magnesium sulfate you compound, there are liability issues that are involved in other things. So we said, no, we'll not do that. Let's take a different route on how can we make magnesium sulfate available in our country. I think that was when we started the conversation. And I remember that, we started seeing, okay, how can we import it to the country? But more importantly, how can we encourage the private sector in this country to begin to bring in magnesium sulfate? Because magnesium sulfate is something that is, of course, in maternal death is a very recurring problem all over the country, but it's not something that they are likely to make money out of it. So they were very shy about investing in bringing them. I don't know whether it was Piston or one of those companies. I remember the woman was the managing director at that time. So we have to use our gender lens to convince her that this is a worthy investment and that she should try to be bringing in magnesium sulfate to the country. And that was how magnesium sulfate became more available in the country and saving a lot of lives. And we did a lot of work in trying to ensure that this is not just something that is done by doctors, which has been the practice, but we try to do about skills development among nurses and even not only nurses, but also other lower cadre of workers to make sure that magnesium sulfate is available throughout the country and other things. And so thank you very much, Professor Jengbede, for all the work that you have done in saving lives. And I remember that we also had a BBF project in Ebonyi, and some part of Cross Rivers. I remember those ones. I think you were in charge of those ones. So just to say that, we appreciate all that you have been doing in order to save the lives of our women in this country as well. So the question which I've been asked, which I have decided to forget what was the question about, and talk about, I think, some of the things that I think are important. One is that I think it is true that, in my view, globally, actually, there are more funds in the world than any time in our history, globally. If you look at what technology has done and what technology has led to the development of wealth among, unfortunately, very few people who have become too wealthy and actually who don't even know how to spend money. I think there's no doubt that globally there's so much money going to philanthropy in the world. But unfortunately, I think there's no doubt that, when you look at our own situation, our own situation is actually decreasing. I think that is the reality. If you look at the number of funds that are coming into the country, it's actually decreasing. And as someone who works with the MacArthur Foundation, at least I know from the MacArthur experience, our current programs ends in December of this year. And I know that we have spent $125 million over the last 8 years. And I know that when that money comes to an end in December 2024, I know that is a significant decline that is going to happen in terms of the resources that are available to support organizations in this country. I know that we support like 80 organizations and maybe about another 80 subgrantees. So I know the consequences of all this in terms of what happens to them and other things as well. So, but what are we doing in order to support these organizations so that they can be better and stronger? And according to the MacArthur mantra, better than where we met them. Because our own point of view is that we want to be in a position whereby organizations are better than when we first started supporting them. I think one of the things that I found very interesting, very encouraging among the grantees that we support is that many of them are purchasing their own offices. Many of them are purchasing their offices. I've been to this year, I've been like to 3 or 4 organizations that we support. I think all of them are struggling to establish their own physical presence, to have their own office. And as you know, especially for those who are in Abuja, rent is a major, major challenge. So that's why I hear whenever I ask people, they say, where are you these days? They say, oh, I'm in Gwarumfa. I smile and laugh. I know that the rent is just pushing people out of the city center and pushing them to kind of places. Or somewhere in Kubwa. I think there are some mobile grantees now. I don't even know. I tease them that does Google Map actually go to your office? Because it's so far, 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 far in some nooks and corners that you don't even know whether they actually exist, and other things. So I think that the foundation decided to say that, we give 29% of whatever grant we give as overhead costs. It's something that you don't have to account and tell us what do you do with the money and other things. And I think that many of the people who are wise have taken advantage of the 29%, which does not include your health benefits, it doesn't include your pension benefits, it doesn't include your personnel, human resource benefits, but whatever you get, that 29% goes to your own overhead costs. And I found that many of them have taken advantage of that to establish their own office and do that one as well. The second point I want to make is that a lot of them also have taken advantage of the technical support that I think the foundation gives. So I think that our work is not just to give money to people. I think that is good enough, but I think that we have to give them all kinds of support that they need. So we did a survey of the grantees and asked them, what are the other areas of support that you need? So a lot of them talk about communication, for example, communication training. A lot of them talk about cyber security training that they needed. A lot of them talk about monitoring and evaluation and learning. So I think that taking advantage of those skills and others is critical. And I try to tell people that please don't do this one for MacArthur. Do it for your organization. Because MacArthur is a face. Palladium is a face. USAID is a face. Your own organization still remains here. So don't think that you are doing this one just because MacArthur invites you to come and do a training on communication or whatever. So that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that this is your organization. And therefore, whatever skill that you use it for your own organization. So don't, for example, write a proposal including gender and social inclusion, including monetary evaluation, just because of MacArthur. No. How do you use whatever you gain from us to apply it to your other programs and projects, and then just make it this is just a MacArthur thing. You are going to write in MacArthur and you don't apply it to other things. I think that is just a missed opportunity. So we encourage that, whatever you learn in terms of the work that we do, please also apply it, if relevant, to other organizations that you're applying for resources. Hopefully that will do as well. we certainly also hope that, our grantees will also think about wellness and wellness of their staff and people. Because, we usually, as our grantee partners, we give them money and other things. Yes, we say their salaries, we give them pension and health benefits, but we also have to be thinking about the wellness of their own staff, their mental health, their psychological well-being, their financial well-being as well. Because, as a staff of a organization, I think that, you are a human being. You are a human being, you also have family members and other things. So I always talk to our grantee partners that, yes, you are a grantee of the MacArthur Foundation, but you're a human being. You may be a mother, you may be a father, you may be a cousin, you may have extended family members. So we want to make sure that what we do and what you do for us, you also take care of your own family itself. Don't do these things just because you are doing it because MacArthur has given you money and do other things. But you also have to take care of yourself, your family, your other things. Because I have seen for certain people that we support who are in a very difficult situation with their own families. And part of them, in my view, is just the kind of work that they do for us, which exposes them to trauma, which exposes them to anxiety and other things. Unfortunately, they transfer that aggression to their own family members. So you see very unstable situations that they find themselves in other things. So we try to encourage them to think that, yes, it's good to do some things for MacArthur and other things, but you also have to take care of yourself, your family members. So, for example, a number of the journalists that we support who either report in different environments, and there was one station in particular, I called them and said that, look, I, as a listener, I really don't want to be listening to your radio stations every morning, because every morning your people are reporting about violence that is happening. That's me as someone who just listened to you people. So what do you think is happening to the reporters who are reporting this thing? What are you doing in order to take care of them? And what are you doing not only to take care of them, but what are you doing to take care of their own families? Because these people are going back to their own families. They report all the time and every day about violence happening in them. They keep on reporting those things. This is bound to have a traumatic experience about them, and they're likely to also to transfer that aggression to their own family members as well. So I hope that as we're thinking of the institutional sustainability, the human beings who are running these projects are key and important elements of the work that we need to do. And thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope we are learning. It's really very interactive and very educative. Dr. Charles, you are the country director of Plan International. As a donor, yes, there is a need for you being in this hall. We want to see how donors can support CSO initiatives so that CSOs can run the agenda and sustainably maintain the organizations. We know that most times when donors bring out funding opportunities, like we call it in CSO, proposal is out. When you're bringing out new funding opportunities, that they are crafted in such a way that it will be mutually beneficial, not just running a donor's agenda. How can this be possible with that intention of promoting CSO initiatives?
Well, thank you very much. I'll be quick to make a certain clarification. Um,
I'm not sure I can confidently say that Plan International is a donor. Yeah, that's a very tricky word to use. So I'll prefer to say we're an international organization, and I'll explain that many people will think we're donors because we do a lot of sub-granting. So maybe that's why. And I cannot actually just claim the donor mandate because I don't want to fall into the same mistake that Dr. Otive fell into by not recognizing the board members. I'm actually sitting here with one of my board members, Dr. Kule Shetima. So I have to be very careful what I say, otherwise I may not end back at the office when my board member is sitting here. But I think the point is me. I think the point is how CSOs can actually run the agenda and can actually, lead initiatives to bring about change. And there are a couple of points here I would like to just share. From my experience, being a country director for about 12 years now in different international organizations and having grown through civil society family in the country for over 2 decades. What has been my experience and what would I like to share for people to learn? I think the first, personally, is a philosophy of discipline, which we enshrine and embed. This is a philosophy which was put forward by Jim Collins, which most of you will know. He's written a couple of books, and I found that philosophy to be very useful. And what does this philosophy mean when we say philosophy of discipline? It's discipline people, discipline thoughts, and discipline action. Now, this is critical for any organization to survive and to drive an agenda. If you're not bound by disciplined thoughts, the tendency for you to accommodate any thoughts and run in any direction that comes. And that is why you find certain organizations who actually do everything. They are the equivalent of the general merchandise people, in business world. They do literally do everything. And experience has shown that that's not really possible. So an organization that is built with a principle of disciplined thoughts would actually clarify what their thought processes are and clarify what their conviction about what they do. Same with disciplined people, having the right people who are bound by discipline and some code of conduct and ethics. The strength of an organization is actually experienced by the strength of the people in that organization. And most organizations will say the strength of the organization is actually measured by the weakest person within the organization. It therefore means that an organization to thrive and drive an agenda would need to build people who are disciplined, and finally, disciplined actions in terms of how your actions are actually, your work is actually experienced. It is bound by discipline to do exactly what you say you would do and go no further, or do exactly what you claim you are able to do and meet that standard. There's a lot of deception now in terms of what people including donors, foundations, private sector do. So discipline action is really critical. And on the basis of this principle of discipline, there are a couple of things we could do to drive the agenda as CSOs. The first is the ability to solve problems. As an organization, the agenda will be to solve problems, not to add to the problems, not to contribute to the problem, to solve problems. And what that means is to come with a mindset to actually explore what the root causes of problems are and be able to offer practical solutions, to them. And not copy and paste solutions, not solutions that have not been tested, but solutions that actually bring about change in its true sense. So a problem-solving mindset organization is an organization that will drive an agenda, because then it's easy to define the problem. Everybody knows the problem. Even if you go to the streets now, everybody knows the problem of Nigeria, and everybody will give their versions of the problem. But what is the solution? So an organization that will set an agenda is an organization that comes with solutions, practical solutions. But to be able to come with practical solutions, one thing is imperative, and that is your ability to extract data and to use hardcore evidence to design programs. So in 2022, my team and I discovered, looking at hardcore data before the Northwest became popular right now for the kind of conflict it has. In 2022, there were still discussions around, oh, is the Northwest safe or not? And we got data and put data together. And what is revealed was that in a 3-month period between January and March 2022, there were 770,000 displacement of people moving within the Northwest. 70% of that were women and children. And for an organization, the global organization that is set up, to seek for the rights of children and the equality for girls, that is the kind of data we cannot just sit by and watch. And we had to begin to develop solutions. And right now, we are a major player in the Northwest of Nigeria. An organization that will drive an agenda is an organization that understands the use of data and how to use it to solve problems. Many years ago, sometime in 2014, again, leading a different international organization as country director, I led my team into Maiduguri. At that time, even the airport was not effective. The airport was not working there in 2014. But there were huge displacement. There were over 3 million people internally displaced. And people still did not understand what was happening in the Northeast. And this was the epicenter of the crisis of the insurgency at that time. And when we went in, we got hardcore evidence of almost 400 children dying of malnutrition every day. This was as far back as 2014. And we went into action, and we were one of the leading organizations who were at the forefront of the response to the humanitarian crisis till today in the Northeast. The point I'm trying to make here is that as an organization, for you to drive an agenda, you must come with a problem-solving mindset. But to get that mindset, you must understand data and what the issues are. So needs assessment is critical. Understanding data, research, investment in secondary and primary research is critical. In fact, it's fundamental. Without that, you are only scratching the surface and you appear cosmetic as an organization. And then finally, I think for me, one distinction I want to make, and this may sound very contentious, but this is the last point for me in terms of an organization that will set the agenda. A lot of people emphasize the issue around capacity building. For me and my leadership experience, I do not emphasize capacity building per se. I talk more around organizational development. In my opinion and my experience, they're a little bit different. Because what we found out is capacity building will involve a lot of training for people within an organization. But we're looking at local CSOs here. And the truth about it is that in Nigeria, local CSOs are the feeder teams for international NGOs. And it goes up like that. International NGOs are the feeder teams for the UN and for the donors. And so what happens is that you spend a lot of energy, resources, training people in local organizations, only to find out Dr. Otive. That's why Dr. Otive will have the boldness to stand here and say, these are my 2 successors who have taken over from me and have done more. Because the investment has been in action as an organization rather than just individuals. So this is an element which I push and actually prioritize. So when we engage with our sub-grantees, for instance, and I see that budget line of the capacity building, I always asterisk it. And I said, no, can we explore that? What does that mean? So I think my final word here to organizations is invest in organizational development. And that will help you build systems. It will help you create a structure that would outlive the people who are there. It will outlive, the executive director. And it will help build systems that do not challenge the existence of the organization. That's why some local organizations, when they have a windfall of grants, the executive director, you find out that he or she is even the first culprit to breaking the protocol of the organization. You want to travel, but there's a policy around travel allowance. Because I'm the executive director and I'm the founder, it's my organization. You simply write a fact check for yourself. You go and come back and don't retire. You see, that organization is only a matter of time before the evil thunder will strike you and then your organization goes down. And then you begin to wonder why you are not surviving. But you see, for organizations who have systems, even if you are the founder or the founder's father, there is a process, there is a system, whether you like it or not. If you are to travel and travel allowance is 20,000, you get 20,000. And when you come back, you retire it. That kind of organization is built for success. And it will outlive successive leaders and people. And you can come and you go. So invest in, I think that's the same argument we make in Nigeria, actually. We say, let's build the systems in Nigeria rather than individuals. It's the same principle, and that's why it's a principle, because it holds true wherever you apply it. Let me stop there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And on this particular very elevated note, build the systems, set of organizations that will outlive Dr. Charles, outlive Nkechi, outlive Dr. Tangod, even Prof that is here. In the 10 years to come, 20 years to come, Dr. Otive is happy to hear that Action Aid is still waxing strong. This is the kind of organization we want CSOs that are here to look forward to setting up, to look forward to making sure that they have that system, that structure that can enable such organizations to thrive, to run that agenda. And so I hope, I wished that we had more time, but we don't. We will, at this point, maybe take 2 or 3 questions or reactions. It wouldn't be more than a minute. If you're given opportunity to speak, please, if you have a question, go direct so that other items on the agenda for today can be covered. All right, Senator Victor May.
Can we have someone pass the mic?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that this session has been very fruitful and very expository. I'm very pleased to listen to Dr. Charles Ushia and the response offered by Dr. Mitsokoro of Rotary. In answer to a question you asked her, what has made Rotary unique, that has made it to survive from 1905 till date? And in her reaction and response, she said, all those stories she told, what I picked from that was the commitment by Rotary to transparency, proper use of resources, monies generated, contributions made by people who was pursuing certain causes of Rotary, and how those monies were properly utilized. That yeah, it's back. So I took it away from her that you need to remain focused and be transparent in the utilization of money. Particularly as NGOs here survive on grant, being made available through donor agencies and all that. Such funds are funds that must be carefully managed. And like Dr. Charles said, an NGO will not be a jack of all trades and master of none. NGOs should have specific objectives. Every NGO must have a target line, something it was set up to pursue in the society. Those who are engaged in advocacy programs, healthcare delivery, interventions, and all that, like now the cholera is here. NGOs that are set up to pursue fight against such diseases should be active now. We should be seeing them. They should be doing something to generate awareness on how to combat cholera. So if you see such NGOs doing that sort of thing, they can be supported by anybody who is public spirited. And again, from what Charles said, I think that this is the major thing The major thing here is ability to use fund transparently, like Rotary has said. You can float an NGO, become a founder and executive director, and suddenly MacArthur Foundation or UTED gives you fund when you apply for fund. Then you start living a luxuriant lifestyle. Start using the money as if it is free money. It is not free money. Those who are given such monies, when they see the lifestyle of those who run the NGO, will avoid them in future. So I think I needed to commend this session because it is in line with my own thinking that we need to stay focused on the things we have set ourselves to do. If you're going to be a vanguard against corruption, you should start in earnest and begin to show yourself to be noticed in all matters of corruption in your country and avoid the temptation of along the way you get compromised. You know, some get up and achieve the voice and they become targeted for being set out of their course. You come inside, what they tell you, slow down this way, and very soon the objective is lost. So consistency is very critical in this. So I'm happy I witnessed this session, and I needed to commend these salient views which they have given to those who are participating in this summit. Because NGOs can only survive since you depend on public-spirited organizations for your funding. You must stay focused. So this is my reaction, not question, because you called for reaction, and I have reacted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Victor May, for those points reinforcing accountability and transparency on the part of local CSOs as a precursor for organizational sustainability. The representative of the Speaker of House of Reps, I see your hand up. After him, we'll take one more, a lady now, then we'll wrap up the session. I've been advised by time by Dr. TV.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. I've been in the private sector for over 20 something years before coming here. And I wanted to also add, because the last speaker was very much on point as regards structuring your system. And there is one major ingredient, I think it applies to even the Rotary organization. You must have in your organization a system, you must structure, put in place a system where you can have feedbacks. You see, in engineering, we have what we call feedback systems. That means that your output is always determined by a portion of what you put back into it as your input. So you always have to praise yourselves. You have to set up basically a monitoring and evaluation, self-monitoring and evaluation mechanism in your system that even the owner is subject to. And I think in that way, with correct regular appraisals, you can keep the system in check, and maintain your focus. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Reinforcing the need for accountability through an effective mail system. Yes. Sorry, I don't know your name. Can we quickly just get hear from you? Then we'll wrap up.
Thank you very much. My name is Chinyere Eyo. I'm the ED of SOA Initiative, and I direct my question to Dr. Charles. For want of sounding too basic, you said you would rather see the term organizational development in a proposal than capacity development. And my question is, in actual terms, what exactly would you want to see in that proposal that will not be building the capacity of the staff of that organization? If it's M&E, you're helping. So what exactly for a local organization writing proposals, what should we be looking at in the proposal development that will help capture building the organization rather than just capacity of individual staff? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chinyere. Hello, I'm the one controlling the mic, so you look at me. Is that fine? Yeah, so one more. Who is that person? I'm taking a lady. Please, to the back. I've been advised to ensure that gender is integrated.
Thank you so much. My name is Rhoda Daniel Ocheche, and I want to add to what she said because my question was really targeted to Plan International's country director. What exactly is organizational development, creating those systems? You cited an example to say, the ED shouldn't be an ED by pocket, by money. What else? For lack of wanting to stretch you thin, can you give us further examples that will help in proposals? And then is it possible that we could do some form of secondments with these international organizations? So we go there and we learn, and then we come back and have an MOU to say whoever has learned should stay a certain year. Could you throw more light to that because it will help in future proposals? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to crave our indulgence. I see a lot of hands still up. Please, for want of time, might not be able to accommodate that. Just note down the questions bring to us. I hope there will be opportunity to address it. So I see Prof itching to speak, but I'll let Dr. Chas, the questions were directed to you. After you respond, Prof will just give a short, then we'll wrap up.
So sometimes it's difficult to explain all you want to explain in a panel like this in 3 minutes. So you make anecdotal statements that people may take literally. So let me explain certain examples. Don't be too fixated with the nomenclature. Remember, I said when I see it, I always question it and say, can we unpack it? What does it really mean? So don't be fixated with the nomenclature. It's what does it really mean? So for instance, I would rather prioritize resources for an organization that wants to build an M&E system than for an organization that has 2 people to go for an international conference as capacity building. You see the difference? Because then when you have the right M&E system, just like the rep has said, then you are sure that then anybody who comes, you can quickly do a training and orientation and the person will be able to use the system. I would rather invest in an organization to build and redo their strategy rather than invest in an organization to say maybe travel for exchange visits. So there are things that actually build systems rather than just people. It's not as if it's wrong to invest in people. Because again, remember my first statement was what? Discipline people. And Jim Collins will argue that if you have the right people in the bus and the wrong people out, then you don't need to tell them where to go to. The right people know where to go to. So it is that's not a point for